Good morning, everybody. This is Miss Glink, and the purpose of this first video is to review how to borrow and how to recognize when to borrow. So I know that can be a really hard concept, but I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you, showing you a strategy that can be useful. And this is called the triple B to the BRC. So I know that's a lot of acronyms, but I'm going to break it down for you. So first of all, what in the world is this? Well, triple B is big bottoms borrow. Now you can't tell me it's fun to be able to say big bottoms borrow. So we got to see if there's a big bottom situation. So let's look at this problem right here. So we have 24 minus 9. Now, to know if there's a big bottoms borrow situation, I have to look at my bottom digit, the 9. It's definitely bigger than my top digit. So I have to go to my borrow, reduce, and carry. So I'm going to go next door because obviously the 4 doesn't have enough to be able to subtract. So I have to go next door to my 2. I'm going to borrow from the 2, which means I cross it out. Now reduce means I have to make it smaller. So I'm going to change it to a 1. But we're not done yet because we still need to do the carry. So carry simply means that I am going to carry a 10 from the tens place over to the ones place. So my 4 really gets changed into a 14. So the reason it changes into a 14 is because if you remember when you go from one place value to the next highest place, remember like the 2 would be 10 times their value, since it's in the tens, would be 10 times greater than a digit in the ones, as long as they're the same digit. So anyway, we've turned the 2 into a 1, which is really turning 20 into 10. 4 was given a 10 into 14. So if I count up from 9 to 14, I get 5. And of course, 1 minus 0 is 1. But wait a minute, Miss Glink. What happens if you have to borrow 2 times? Well, I'll show you. So, of course, we want to take one place value at a time. So I'm going to look at the 6. Do we have a triple B? Is there a big bottoms borrow? Well, yeah, because 6 is greater than 1. So we have to go next door to the 6, which is really the tens place. We have to borrow. Remember, reduce means to make it smaller. And carry that 10 that we took away from the 6 to the 1. So it turns into 10 plus 1, which is 11. So, of course, now you can take 11 minus 6 and you get 5. But wait a minute, I still need to make sure, is there a triple B situation? Can I do 5 minus 9? No, because the 9 is bigger. We have a big bottom. So we got to take care of that big bottom by going next door to the hundreds place. We're going to borrow, reduce, and carry, because remember, we're really taking a 10 away, so we're giving that to the 5, turning it to a 15. So 15 minus 9 is 6. 1 minus 1, you could put a 0 if you want to, but you really don't have to. That's completely your call. I don't tend to. Now, we can't really talk about borrowing without discussing that pesky borrowing across zeros business. I know it's really, really difficult sometimes, I'm going to show you a few things that might make it a little bit easier for you to understand. So first I'm going to show you the traditional way. So whenever we have to borrow across zeros, of course, we have to see if we need to triple B, borrow, big bottoms borrow. So we do have a big bottom, so we need to borrow from the 0. Turn it into a 9, borrow, reduce, carry. But when you have the trick to borrowing across zeros, you have to keep, if you borrow from a 0, you have to keep going until you get to a non-zero digit. And I'll show you why in a bit. So that means we have to borrow from the 4 and turn it into a 3. So the reason, I'm going to take a little sidebar for a second. The reason you have to borrow, think about it like this way. If you have $40 in your pocket and you spend $5, so this is a simple example, but actually, let me show you a better example. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit better of a problem to show you. But to put it in perspective, let's just say you go to the store with a $100 bill. And you want to buy a pair of shoes that costs $9. Well, the reason we borrow across zeros is because look and see what happens. So obviously we know that we can't take 9 from 0. So of course we borrow, reduce, carry. Well, if we just leave it at that, 10 minus 9 is 1, 9 minus 0 is 9, and we bring down our 1, that doesn't even make sense. Because if we subtract, we know that the rules tell us we have to end, our answer has to be smaller than what we started with. And this number is way bigger than this one. So we have to borrow from the hundreds place because it's a non-zero digit, turn it to a 0, and that would make our answer just $91. So let's go ahead and apply that to this problem over here. Whoop. You can't see that because I didn't. There we go. Let's apply that problem to this, or that strategy to this problem right here. So we're going to continue subtracting. 10 minus 9 is 1, 9 minus 9 is 0, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Now, one more thing I want to show you before I end this video. I'm going to use this red little box down here to show you how to check to make sure your answer is correct. So we know that the opposite of subtraction is addition. So all you have to do is take your answer that you get when you subtracted, and what's the opposite of subtraction is addition. We're going to add it to the number we subtracted from. So 201 plus 199, 1 plus 9 is 10, 9 plus 1 is 10, 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. And it matches our original number we started with.